Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Draft Room. This is the NFL Draft Podcast of the Packernet Podcast Network. I do want to get through some more news and notesy type stuff. However, we do have a call first, so why don't we go ahead and start with that. If you want to call in, you can feel free to do so. The phone number is 608-561-3243. Garrett, what do you got going on?
Ryan, this is Garrett from Southern Illinois. With the draft growing closer and closer, I wanted to ask you, is there any rumors or news out there of possibilities of teams moving up or moving back, and could Green Bay, possibly with no first-round pick, still move up in the second round to get somebody maybe at the very top of the second round that they want, that fills a need? And what would that look like as far as compensation to move up to the top of the second round? Because we know Goody likes to do that. So just wondering what the possibilities could hold for draft day. I know that we don't have a first round, but hoping that maybe they could move up in the second, or scenarios of why they would move back in the second, because he's done that also.
Yeah, so first of all, there are a lot of people looking to move back. There's supposed to be, as I mentioned, I think yesterday, a very trade-heavy draft this year, and I think the general idea is that there's a lot of talent or value maybe, and I don't remember the exact, but let's say between like 20 and 50. And so there's a lot of people that want to maximize the amount of swings they can take in and around that range. So if they're able to trade back with the Packers and get 2 picks in that range, or 3 instead of 2, or 2 instead of 1, or whatever the case may be, I think there's a very good chance that teams could do that. The only question then becomes, why wouldn't the Packers want to do that? Especially since they don't have a first-round pick. Rather than having, because we're talking about probably trading our third-round pick, so now we're talking about 1 pick in the top 100, which is awful. That's a terrible position to be in. More than likely, if I had to guess, more than likely they're going to make a pick. But if you have the ability to trade back and try to squeeze in 1 more pick in that range. And so if we look at it from both angles, I think the Rich Hill model, there's a bunch of different trade charts. The Rich Hill, I believe, most closely resembles what teams actually do. There's other models that I think are trying to determine what is the best one to use in terms of value. This, I don't know if this is the intention or what, but I think this one is the best at mimicking what teams do. I think it used to be Jimmy Johnson, but maybe teams have kind of adjusted. I don't really know. Doesn't matter. Close enough either way. But if we wanted another pick inside of the top 100, I don't even know if it's actually possible, to be honest with you. Because the other complication is you need to find a trade partner. And so, let's put it this way. If we wanted to, let's say Seattle has the last pick in the second round at 64, they want to come up with Green Bay. They move up to 52, we move back to 64. That gives us 29 points in extra value. That is a mid to high 4th round pick. But Seattle doesn't have a pick in that range. They don't have anything to offer us in that range. So not only is it not in the top 100, but it would have to be, in fact, they don't even have a 4th or 5th round pick. So I think the best, assuming we're not trading out of the second round, which would be absurd. So let's go to the far extremes of moving back in the second round. And let's say New England, because I don't think Seattle's a possibility, unless it's a next year pick or something, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. If we trade to pick 63, the second to last pick in the second round with New England, they have pick 125 in the 4th round, which is 21 points. They owe us 27, so there's 6 left over. They have 4 picks in the 6th round. Their top one is worth about 6. So in other words, if we moved all the way back to 63, we would not get another top 100 pick. And we would probably get a 4th and a 6th round pick out of it. Now, as to the other question, because I think a lot of people underestimate how much capital it takes to move around, especially in the relatively early rounds. So, for example, a lot of people probably think, well, what if we gave up like a 5th round pick or something to move up in the 2nd round? Our 5th round pick is worth 10 points. That gets us from 109 to 119. That allows us to move up 3 spots with Minnesota. It's basically useless. If we gave up our 4th round pick, which would be a crime against humanity, that gives us 133, which would move us up to about 45 from 52, so about 7 picks. If we used our 3rd round pick, meaning our 2nd and 3rd round pick on a player, which is a massive investment in a player, especially since that, again, means we have 1 pick in the top 119 picks, that would move us up to 160 points, which puts us with the the 5th or 6th pick, roughly, in the 2nd round. I can't imagine what in the holy hell a player could have to do to prove that he is worth our entire first 3 rounds of picks that we should throw at this guy. I would be relatively livid if we gave up that for any player. They would have to believe that he is there's like 15 first-round prospects total, and one of them just fell out of the 1st round. And we have no reservations about the fact that nobody else has picked him and that we're wrong about something and we're doing all this. So the bottom line is, if you were to trade way too much, you can get up to the top. Or if you trade, for example, next year's 2nd round pick, which again, crime against humanity, straight to jail. If you wanted to throw a later round pick to move around, that's fine, but you're going to move up a hand within 5 picks at the most. And you can do the same thing in reverse as you move back, right? So if we wanted to pick up a 7th round pick, they're worth about 2 points, you move back like 1 spot. So if let's just say Philly wanted to jump Pittsburgh behind us, we could probably squeeze, it's technically worth around a 6th. We maybe squeeze a 7th out of them or something. Maybe we can get greedy and get a 6th. I don't know. But that's us moving back like 2 spots. To get a 5th round, again, you're looking at roughly 10. So we'd have to move back like 5 spots to get a 5th round pick. And then to get a 4th round pick, again, you're going to about the back of the 2nd round. If we wanted a 3rd round pick, we'd have to go out of the 2nd round. So, for example, what if we move back to the top of the 3rd round? That would only be 31 points worth of value, which is still a 4th round pick. I mean, you could probably squeeze a 3rd round pick out of them if they have an additional 3rd round pick, which is the other problem. Arizona, for example, is the top pick. Let's see, Arizona does not. They have the 4th pick in the 4th round is the best they have. So that's the other thing. You have to find a team that has 2 different picks. Tennessee at the top of the 3rd does not. Las Vegas, I don't think does. So again, I don't even think it's really possible to get in the another 3rd round pick out of this. Your best bet is probably Philly here. Philly has pick 68. And then they also have pick 37 as one of their compensatory picks in the 3rd round. So if we move back out of the 2nd round to the 4th pick in the 3rd round, we would probably get pick 68, pick 84, which is our original pick, and pick 98, 3 3rd round picks, which, given our track record with the 3rd round, again, crime against humanity, straight to jail. So, again, I think we generally always overestimate or underestimate cost when it comes to these things. If we're moving, we're barely moving at all. And as we barely move, we barely pick up anything. And because the Packers have a lack of picks, which I don't think Gutekunst likes at all, I would say there is an unbelievably higher chance that we move back than move up. Again, 2 picks in the top 100. Only 7 total picks, with 2 of them being 7th rounders. Just my thought. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back, get into some NFL draft news. All right, let's go look through a couple things here. So, first of all, Daniel Jeremiah on April 5th, talking about the Tennessee Titans at the top. And this is somewhat already known. It's more or less confirming. But he says that the Titans aren't a Ruben Bain team. Jeremiah was discussing the Titans' interests at the top 2 edge rushers in the class. However, he said the Titans weren't in the mix for Bain, which makes sense because he's not the same elite athlete that David Bailey or Arvell Reese are. So as we look through this, Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1. It's assumed that Arvell Reese at this point will go number 2 to the Jets. The Tennessee Titans pick at 4. So if they're not going Ruben Bain, that's the wrong way to say it. If they draft an edge rusher, it's almost assuredly going to be David Bailey. Now, very recently, and this is, I think, due to the Beast Draft Guide, there were some comments in there about David Bailey. He's apparently got some pretty, well, not apparently, I mean, there's video. He's got some pretty serious, I don't know if character is the right word, but he's a hothead. And he's got into some trouble. The first issue, I think probably the biggest, October 2025 photographer incident. On October 18th, 2025, Texas Tech lost to Arizona State 26-22 in Tempe. Fans rushed the field in celebration. Sports photographer Mike Rabilis, working the game, was taking post-game photos when Bailey allegedly confronted him from behind. Bailey reportedly didn't like his picture being taken after the loss. According to the police report and video footage, yes, there's a police report, Bailey grabbed Rabilis by the shoulders and the back of the neck during a heated exchange while coaches tried to restrain him. Rabilis posted about it on Instagram the same night, saying, "Star player on a losing team put his hands on him while he was, quote-unquote, doing my job." He filed a police report immediately. Video of the altercation circulated wildly on social media and news outlets shortly after. Criminal charges appear to have been filed, but the incident drew heavy criticism for poor sportsmanship and lack of control in a high-visibility moment. No criminal charges appear to be filed. So yeah, after the game, after a loss, grabbing a photographer by the neck, screaming at the guy, not a great look. There was also a 2024 incident. While at Stanford in 2024, Bailey was ejected in the second half of a game against NC State for intentionally stomping on the helmet and face area of a downed opponent while getting up from a pile. This one had, his own teammates were like grabbing his face mask, screaming at him for being so stupid as to do something like that. So again, this is problematic. Now, is it enough if a team genuinely believes that he is an elite, true premier pass rusher to not take him? That I don't know. But I know that on the, for example, NFL mock draft database, if you go to the consensus mock draft, the Titans are taking Jeremiah Love. So all that to say, there are certainly other options. In fact, that's kind of by a lot the top option. Looks like it has been pretty much since, in the last month, it's been massive. 2 months ago, it was Ruben Bain, followed by David Bailey. Obviously, the news and rumors about Ruben Bain have circulated enough that completely fell off. But immediately after that, Jeremiah Love overtook David Bailey, who remains the number 2 option. So I don't know. I don't know. Sonny Styles is another potential in there. He's at 5% or so. David Bailey, by the way, just at like 15, should be a lot higher. But this maybe sheds a little bit of light as to why this hasn't been as big of an automatic. Aside from obviously Jeremiah Love is a very good running back. Then we have this news, and again, as I had mentioned, the Browns are very interested in potentially trading down. However, the belief is that, barring a trade down, the Browns will select Carnell Tate at number 6. This is via Zach Jackson of The Athletic. Now, how much of that is speculation as opposed to a legitimate report, I don't exactly know, but it's helping us start to put this puzzle piece together. Now we got Arvell Reese is the best fit for the Jets at 2. That was Rich Cimini of ESPN. So again, we've got Mendoza 1, Reese 2, potentially Carnell Tate at 6. So we've got 3, 4, and 5. The current belief for the Arizona Cardinals is that they would draft offensive tackle Francis Mauigoa. Again, that would leave us with the question of what's going to happen at 4. It starts to get a little interesting if they do take Jeremiah Love, because now you've got David Bailey starting to fall. Obviously, something changes at some point. Maybe the Browns, instead of taking Carnell Tate, go that direction.
Someone is at the front door.
Yes. Maybe the Giants, instead of taking somebody like Sonny Styles, decide to go in the direction of a pass rusher. But if they don't, how far could he potentially fall? We've got, again, via the consensus mock draft, Ruben Bain going at 8 to the Saints. Would they potentially take David Bailey instead, causing Ruben Bain to continue to fall? Or would they potentially like Ruben Bain and what he offers and the fact that he's probably not as big of a problem as David Bailey? So I don't know how much teams are reading into this, and a lot of it really comes down to how elite do they believe David Bailey is. If it's just kind of a toss-up, or he's, in a weak class where there's not a lot of true elite talent, David Bailey is among the sort of second-tier guys, there's no reason why he couldn't continue to fall. Because if all things being equal, we're going to go with the non-head case. Okay, we got Ruben Bain, we got Caleb Downs, we got Carnell Tate, we got Sonny Styles, we got Mansour Delane, we got all kinds of guys, which, by the way, Jeremiah Love and Downs would be probably a tier above anyways. Or the other side of this is completely overblown, and teams don't really care because he's a premier pass rusher, and they're going to take him no matter what and just hope that he relaxes a little bit. But anywho, all right. Obviously, there's tons and tons of news, but we'll just stop it there because that feels like a good amount of time. So we will leave it at that, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.